Good communicator.
You're going live on YouTube. Do you want me to go with the open first, Corey?
Yeah,
You want
that's
to talk?
perfect.
Okay, I'm going to
No,
go
you
with
can
the
go
open.
open.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Yes.
And
Yes.
here we go. Do we have sound? Just sit there 1 second, guys. Let's see. Intro. Good. Okay. Guys, here we go.
What's happening, everyone? We're live on our next installment of Beyond the Game. We got a special episode today. This is our Long Island Lacrosse tribute to not only the 2020 season, but the players, the coaches, the programs, so many different people involved in the Long Island lacrosse community that we want to give a shout out to and remember and talk about, especially our seniors, which we'll be definitely focusing on for a segment within the show. We also want to take a look back at the 2019 season and look at some key games and some of the best ones that the Long Island Lacrosse Journal covered, as well as a look ahead to see what's in store for 2021. We've also gone virtual in some ways to keep our audience engaged and continue to have some fun here as we look to cover Long Island lacrosse in new, innovative, creative ways, which is really exciting. Now, before we get into it, we're going to take a quick break and a word from our innovation partner, Epic Lacrosse. So we'll see you guys in about 30 seconds.
This is the beginning of meditation.
All right, so we're back on Beyond the Game. We're going to be kicking it off. First segment of the show. We're moving quick today. We got a lot to unpack, a lot of good stuff in store. We're going to be talking about the 2020 teams that we felt as though we're going to have breakout years in the year of 2020. So obviously the season got canceled as of late and did not get a chance to see these teams play, but we're going to be talking about them. Cliff, if you don't mind bringing up our first slide here to get everyone pumped up for some of the teams that really we're gonna break it out. Yeah, let's move to the next one too. Let's see that. Let's talk breakout teams. So as you can see in this slide, background of the image is the Cyclones representing Southside. Nick Lacalzi shown in the picture. Coach Wink, besides Southside, what are some other teams that you felt as though were going to have that breakout year in 2020?
Well, I'm glad to be on to talking lacrosse because I miss it. I got to be honest. I think besides the seniors, I think I cried as much as they did. I'm going to talk about the Bayport girls. I'm going to start off with that squad. The Bayport girls were absolutely loaded this year. This was going to be their year, and that's one of the things that really tears at my heart because I know that Coach Gick was priming for a state championship run and getting off the island because he hasn't gotten off the island yet. And I know those girls are hurting, but I think they deserve some kudos. I want to just talk about the 8 seniors: Waters, Kelly, Mason, Stenick, Clark, Brockbank, Most, and Woolley. I mean, you want to talk about a team that had 8 seniors leading them, that would have been unbelievable. It's a little tearful. And I got to tell you that I'm feeling for those girls. But the reality is they couldn't play. So let's just give them a little bit of love on this show and let everybody know that we were thinking that they would have a chance. Obviously, they'd have to get through Mount Sinai and, Coach Gino Bertolone. I like to give all my coaches little nicknames. And Coach Bertolone's definitely the Gino Auriemma of lacrosse on the island. And he would have given him a tough time. He would have pulled something out of his hat to try to stop the Bayport team, the Phantoms. But I don't know if this was the year that they could have stopped that team.
Are there any
Obviously,
other
South.
girls teams on the island that you thought were gonna have a breakout year?
Yeah, Wantagh. I thought Wantagh and Syosset and Nassau, I thought it was their years. Obviously, Wantagh would have to get through Cold Spring. They haven't done it yet, and they have a really good junior class. So it's not like they're not going to have them back next year. They had some good seniors, and Syosset, I thought was loaded in the senior class. So I thought those two
What
teams. Go
What
ahead.
about St. Anthony's? Do you think they are gonna have a big year?
On the girls' side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on the girls' side, they were arguably, in my opinion, the second best team on the island behind Bayport. I would have put. I think we put Bayport one, if I remember correctly. Was Bayport our number one in the LALJ when we did the journal? I think it was.
Yep.
St. Anthony's was probably two, right?
Yeah, they were right there exactly.
If you jump into the
Now,
boys' side, the St.
yeah.
Anthony's boys, I would want to see them play every team in the country. Like I would love to see St. Anthony's boys this year play Culver Academy, play McDonough, play you know who's really good, Calvert Hall. I think they were going to play them. I mean those are the games I would have liked to see. St. Anthony's was, oh God, were they loaded?
Well, I think
Right, with
it's
arguably.
tough because they had, with O'Neal, who's literally a generational type talent. Like, who knows what he would have done at the high school level this year? It's like kind of like LeBron James in his senior year of high school. To miss out on something like that is just disappointing. So it's tough, from an individual perspective, and then obviously from a team perspective on the boys' side. But what are those two other teams? We mentioned Southside. What's the other team? If you want to elaborate on Southside, feel free, because that was
Yeah,
disappointing
I
not to
want to
get
talk
to.
about I want to talk about the Southside boys a second. Coach DiPietro probably had one. He probably had his best team this year since the team that won the state championship back in. I think he won the state championship in '04. He had arguably one of the best players in the country in Nick Lacalzi with the pole. He had the kid Pickett. He had Sheehan. He had I had written down a bunch of the kids' names so I didn't forget anybody. The kid Aiden
McDonald's.
Kelly was McDonald, the defenseman going to Maryland. Aiden Kelly who's going to Lafayette. And then he has a 22 that you're going to be hearing about that is going to be a big recruit next year. And the kid Brady West. The kid had like 18 points as a freshman for
Wow.
a junior laden team. The kid's an absolute stud, and we're going to be doing a piece on him in the coming weeks. That kid, I can't wait to watch that kid play. I know our director of hustle saw him play twice last year, and he had nothing but praise for that kid. Speaking very highly of him. The other team that I'm a little distraught for, to be honest, was Farmingdale boys. I thought the Farmingdale boys were going to make some noise this year. I thought they had a really good senior junior group. They have Emke and Cavioli and Gilman in the net and DeFelice and Paterno on defense. They're juniors. They got Decker, Chachio, Ramos. I mean, they have a very good group of juniors and seniors. So I thought they were going to I thought they had a shot to make a state championship run, the Farmingdale Dalers. So I was a little disappointed not getting to see them play. Not that Pequot, Syosset, and Port Washington were going to just die for them, but I just think that they had the upper hand this year.
Let's Cliff. Let's open up that next slide as we talk about the seniors, the slide with the seniors on it, because this was a really powerful 2020 graduating class, and we're not just talking on Long Island, really throughout the country. The recruits that were coming out of this class that are going to be going off to college, hopefully next year, was incredible. I think that's something to be said. Now on the island specifically, the list goes on and on and on. You mentioned a few of them already as you start to highlight some teams, but who are some seniors that stood out to you that unfortunately you didn't get a chance to see it play this year?
Well, I got to start on the girls' side with Belle Smith, the West Hampton Boston College commit. She's one of those young ladies that, in my opinion, didn't get as much credit for her three-sport prowess. She's an all-county player in volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse, and obviously an All-American in lacrosse. And in basketball, her team made it to the Long Island Championship. They were going to play Locust Valley in the LIC, and that game was canceled right before which was pretty cool. So it's possible that if they did have a season, she was going to be delayed. But it would have been a cool matchup: West Hampton, Locust Valley, and then Jenny Markey, who's an absolute animal. I mean, last year when we saw Mount Sinai play, I don't remember the game. It might have been the Bayport game. The physicalness of her and Tyrell coming down the middle. I mean, the toughness. I mean, and her foot speed. She's got an amazing foot speed. I think she's going to go to Cuse and step right on the field for Coach Gate. I think she's going to have a great college career. Then I'll just talk about two Stony Brook commits that I absolutely love that we had them marked down as the it factor, Coach Wink's it factor. Ellie Macera, who is lightning, and Jaden Hampel. I don't know how many people know. A lot more people know Macera because she had a state championship run in her last year. But Hampel is a special talent. She reminds me, if she buys into Stony Brook's culture, if she buys into their culture, she will, I'm telling you right now, she will be an unbelievable college player. If she works as hard in college as she can, she's going to be, I think she's going to have a great career. Her and Masira, I mean, can you imagine those two at the midfield? And what they got coming back? And you heard Stony Brook just got Huff, a transfer from USC. It just became
they're gonna be
official.
legit. Yeah. Now
I don't want to forget this one senior, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Court. I was going to mention Mackenzie
ahead.
Hogue. I got to talk about Mackenzie Hogue. Even though Mattituck, what am I saying? Mattituck won 2 straight state championships. Mackenzie Hogue is also, she's going to do great things for the University of Virginia. I think UVA is lucky to have her. I know one of her family members is there, and she's going to have a great time down there at Charlottesville, but she's also an unbelievable talent, senior talent.
So we have an award named in honor of what the Native Americans referred to as Long Island, which is the Palmanock Award. And we give it to one senior on the boys' side, one senior on the girls' side. Who is your front runner for the Palmanock Award if you were to pick one girl?
Oh, I guess I got to pick Belle. Only for, for all that she's accomplished in her, God, she's probably been, oh my, did you lose me? The volume. Anyway, can you hear me, Cor?
No. Yeah.
Okay. I can hear you now. Anyway, I would have to pick Belle Smith, but it's so hard. I don't want to pick an award winner, or do you think we should?
No, I don't think we should, but it's I mean, also just so people understand like what goes into the award, it's not just your athletic ability or how good you are at lacrosse. It's really your passion for the sport, like how connected you are to the game, how much you just enjoy playing it, what, like it's like the why you do certain things. Like in this case, it's like, why do you play lacrosse? And that one boy and girl who just plays because it's really just it's just a passion for them. It's something that they crave and they can't get enough of. I think that's a big factor. So I mean, you can't go wrong with a lot of the girls that you named, but Belle's definitely one of the people at the top of the list as you refer to those things. So let's get to the boys' side so we don't lose out on them. Give me a couple boys that you were a little disappointed not to get a chance to see, and give me your front runner from the Palmanock Award for the boys.
Oof. Well, we mentioned the Southside kids. We mentioned them already. We mentioned the Farmingdale seniors. So I'm going to just talk about the Manhasset seniors. They had a really good senior class in Silos, Barrett, Lapina, and Mack. Those 4 guys were probably the 4 main kingpins to Manhasset's success this year. Cold Spring Harbors was Richie Striano, Brady Stroud, Jacob Bruno, Casey Reynolds, Alex Moynihan, and Andrew DeGennaro, the face-off kid who's going to Harvard. That's a really good senior class. And then Wantor had Turetsky, Insignia, and Von Bargen. Port Washington had Beal, Kaslow, Stapleton, and Parecki. Obviously I mentioned the Southside kids. And then we got to go to St. Anthony's. I mean, St. Anthony's. Oh my God. Naso, Denenza, O'Neill, Jernigan. I mean, the town. Yeah, Dazienza. That's just the seniors. And I mean, 3 of those kids are going to Duke. One's going to Harvard. Obviously, they're good students as well as great players. So their senior class is ridiculous.
Who are the Suffolk
Suffolk
kids you're going?
County. Oh, I love the Mount Sinai kid, Marr. Love him. Russell Marr, the lefty who's going to Virginia. I think he's an absolute stud, and I think he's going to have a great college career there. When you're talking about the kid for Islip, Joe Jernigan, the kid who's going to Princeton, he's gonna be out there playing with our boy Alex Vidaro next year. Couple kids. A kid I wanted to see this year that I didn't get to see because he was injured last year was the kid Russo, the Sayville kid, right? Who's going to Brown. He's
Curtis
coming off a
Russo.
knee injury.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a
You
lot.
talk
There's a
about
lot of
kids.
those stories. Yeah, there's a lot of players who, lost their junior year, and they to think that they can't play for 2 straight years. That's tough for those players. You know, it's not easy. But yeah, he's a good example of someone that I was excited to see too.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I could sit here. I want to talk about a couple kids. I want to talk about Cold Spring Harbor's girls defense. Listen to this defense. Polo, Terry, and Vegna. Ready? Brown, Hopkins, Princeton. Those are your three defenders on your girls team. I wanted to see them play against Wantor's stud-ridden 21 team. That would have been an
yeah,
unbelievable matchup. So,
yeah, it's a
and
good
and
one.
Syosset girls, Halpern and Cinny. Cinny in the net and Halpern on the draw circle. It's going to Northwestern. Cinny going all across. The goalie, Victoria Cinny. I mean, I know this. I hope this isn't upsetting people. Or St. Anthony's. We're not even talking about the girls there. How about Deso going to Duke? Natalie Smith and Palagonia and Hunter Roman. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about.
How about the Riverhead girls? They had a great senior class too.
Oh my God! You
And then
kidding me?
and then you them battling against Northport with Pavanelli and Gentili coming back. That's another example of a girl who was injured all last year who could have been an All-American this year.
You can't forget about Pavanelli and Gentili, but that's the other kid who I thought would have a chance at the Palmanock Award was Danielle Pavanelli. You want to talk about a great basketball player?
Yeah, she
And
was
you know what
Suffolk
other
County
team?
Player of the
You
Year.
know,
Suffolk
oh,
Player
she
of
was
the Year,
Suffolk County player
Pavanelli.
in hoops. In hoops.
In hoops. In hoops. Yeah.
Crazy.
I
And
mean,
you know what else? I wanted to see Bayshore play this year. I thought Bayshore was going to make some noise in girls. Bayshore and
yeah.
Riverhead. They would be the ones that were going to be battling Carol Rose's Northport Tigers.
I love the Bayshore
Yeah.
kids. I could watch them. We're going to get to it in a little bit, but one of the best matchups of the year was the Bayshore girls. Let's move on because we could probably talk about kids all day and the seniors. And then for anyone that doesn't know, we put out a lot of content in and around the players that play for Long Island, and we've put out lists upon lists, it factor lists, which is basically players in the running for the Palmanock Award that Coach Wink thinks has the it factor. We've put out lists of top seniors who are going off to college. But what's really cool that we do that people may not know is we also track these players after they graduate. So these 2020 players, this will not be the last time that the Long Island Lacrosse Journal and Beyond the Game talks about these boys and girls. We track kids throughout college, and then even when they get into the WPLL and the PLL, or in some cases the MLL, we're talking about these Long Island players throughout their lifetimes, which is really cool. I don't know if people know that. So this won't be the last discussion we have on the 2020s, but we do have to move on to a very important topic, which is recruiting, because there's been a lot of movement. There's been a ripple effect after all these players in the NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3 programs have been granted an extra year of eligibility. And the effects are being felt not just at the college level, but also at the high school level. Coach Wink, what's your initial reaction to what's going on in college right now in lacrosse?
Well, I think I don't want people. I know I've heard of a few people that are PG and stuff, and I get it. You make your decision that's specific to you. Don't make the decision that everybody else is making, because every school is different. I mean, I know schools that aren't having seniors come back, because of the rules, either in the Patriot League or the Ivy League. A lot of those kids can't come back because they graduated, or even in some cases, they just have jobs and they're going elsewhere. So don't
Right.
panic. Evaluate and speak to somebody that you respect. And there's plenty of men and women out there that understand the landscape of lacrosse, and see what's in the best interest of your situation. But I'm excited I'm hoping and praying that we can get out this summer and we can see these kids play, and these kids in the 21 and 22 class have opportunities to show their abilities to all these college coaches.
Yeah, I agree. I've, to be honest, no one really knows how this is going to affect because there's so many moving parts. But one thing that I've decided to do, just because, I think you and I are both in agreement, we don't have all the answers, although we do deal with a lot of different boys and girls recruiting process, so we have experience there. The people to ask are the college coaches. They're the ones that are recruiting these players. So they have a good understanding of, what they're going to potentially do in terms of recruiting the 21s, 22s, and then eventually everyone that's younger. So any interview I conduct with a college coach, and I think I've done over 30 of them over the last 3 weeks, the last question is always, give me a piece of advice you would give to a lacrosse recruit right now. And if you go back and watch the interviews that we repurpose and we put on social media, you can learn more in watching that 2-minute clip from that college coach than you will on probably any other webinar that's blasted out there on the internet, on any other podcast that you hear in the lacrosse world, the sports world. Listen to the college coaches. These are the people that are recruiting the players. So we'll make sure to post a link to our YouTube page where you can kind of see all these interviews and check it out for yourself. But my best piece of advice is go back and listen to the college coaches, see what they have to say. Again, that's on our YouTube page at FLG Lacrosse. You'll see the Coaches Corner. We post all the interviews from every college coach that we talk to on the Coaches Corner playlist. So that's a good spot to check it out. All right, let's move on here. Let's go back in time for a minute and get excited about some of the things that we saw in 2019. So if Cliff, you could pull up, there we go, the 2019 best games. I love it. Very timely. I appreciate Cliff being on his game over there. There was a lot of really good games. We actually posted, there's an article that we posted, top 10 games covered in 2019.
You're popping in and out on me, Cork. Can you hear?
Published by the Lacrosse Journal. A couple of games that were games that we were at. There might have been other ones that we didn't cover. Understandable. At number one was Chaminade St. Anthony's championship on May 15th. So that game was that was one of the best of the year. Coach Wink, you want to reflect on that and what's up to you in terms of in watching that game in particular?
Post your video.
Yeah, the St. Anthony's Chaminade game was by far, I would say that and the Shoreham Wading River Mount Sinai Suffolk Sea Championship were the best games of the year. The St. Anthony's Chaminade game, Chaminade jumped up in front, and basically it was the coming out party of Brennan O'Neill. It was the famous rip the net goal. I mean, it was an unbelievable play by Aiden Denenza, an unbelievable pass. It was Jake Naso battling Sandoval and Ball at the X and outlasting them. I mean, 3 amazing face-off athletes battling each other, and Naso battling these 2 animals from Chaminade and basically winning that battle in the second half to give St. Anthony's enough possessions where they can win the game. I mean, it was Keith Weisrack against Jack Moran. It was unbelievable. It was Coach DeMayo against Coach Schreiber. It was great. It was exactly what that rivalry's been for the last 30 years. And it was definitely the best game I saw, because we weren't at the Shore Mount Sinai game, even though Hustle, our director of Hustle, Ryan Meyer, was at that game, and he said that was an amazing game as well.
Yeah, those are towards the top of the list. Both the Shoreham game against Cold Spring, the Shoreham game against Sinai. Let's touch on a couple girls' games. One of them we had Darien against ESM. You remember that one at the Gains for Brains event?
That was, I got to tell you something. That was a game, and we didn't get to talk about this young lady yet. Sammy Filippi. That was the Sammy Filippi coming out party when Coach Thorne calls a timeout with 9 seconds. It's tied. Darien came back, tied the game. ESM gets the ball behind the goal, calls a timeout. Everybody thinks the ball's going to Casey Chama because, Casey was the world. She was our Pominock Award winner last year, deservedly so. I mean, she went to Notre Dame and killed it as a freshman. But Filippi comes around and does, what was it? Was it a question mark move, Core?
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what move she made. She kind of like she kind of initiated from X and turned the corner, and I don't know if maybe it was an inside roll or whatever she did, but it was some goal. I mean, no time left on the
Yeah,
clock.
that was a
That was a
great
good
game.
one.
That was definitely a game. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Gains for Brains event was one of the events that I got to be honest, I'm very disappointed we couldn't cover this year because that's an amazing event.
yeah, we had plans to cover the entire Games for Brains event. We were covering over 75 boys and girls high school lacrosse games. We are going to have full coverage of the playoffs all the way through the state championship run, which I guess we'll have to do again next year. So we were going to really up our coverage, but either way, the coverage that we kind of did be we were able to execute last year. You can find on the Long Island Lacrosse Journal website, including our article of the top 10 games. So definitely go back and check that out. There was also a slew of games this year that I think really piqued our interest and stood out. Obviously, we have our epic games of the week, which we're going to talk about how we've kind of turned those virtual, which is really cool. Still able to compete there, but there were some other matchups that you listed. Let's start with the first one on your list: Southside Garden City. Why is that one on the boys' side so interesting to you?
Well, this year, was definitely going to be Southside's year where they would have an opportunity to battle the big boys, Garden City and Manhasset. And I thought that, even though I think Coach Fennell is one of the best coaches in the game, I thought that this was the year that maybe Southside had the upper edge at the senior level. And usually, when you have the upper edge at the senior level, usually you end up having success on the field. So that's the game that I would have liked to seen, because they've lost to Garden City in the semifinals, the final four of the Bees, I think the last 2 or 3 years. So that was a game
Yeah,
that I was definitely excited to watch.
yeah, I agree. There's also a couple like cross county matchups that were interesting. Mount Sinai, Manhasset was one of them. You had what were some other ones? I mean that one was I think that one was super interesting just because of the talent on both teams. While Manhasset might have been a touch deeper, I mean Sinai is arguably one of the most talented teams I think on the island this year with some of the best players on the island individually. So I thought that was going to be an intriguing matchup. You also had a couple public-private matchups that were going to be interesting. St. Anthony's Manhasset was a great one last year. That's when Brennan O'Neill scored with no time left. I'm sorry, with a couple seconds left, and then McAdory he scored at the buzzer to win it, which was really cool. And I think those were like the memories that stood out from 19 that I'm sure we're going to exceed expectations in 2020, but those got ripped away from us. And then on the girls' side, I mean, there was the Power Conference in one in Nassau. Any matchup that you got on the Nassau side of things, um, Cold Spring Harbor versus Wantagh, Massapequa versus Syosset, right? Manhasset versus Garden City. You can't go wrong with any of those matchups. And then and then in Suffolk, it's just loaded with talent. I mean, it's like that any given Sunday effect where, if Shoreham girls are playing Mount Sinai, you got to be on your A game no matter what. So there was a ton of matchups that I think we missed out on this past year, which is really frustrating. But I think I think if
You
other
know what
people
else was
have
cool
ideas,
for?
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt you, but the changeover in Suffolk B was going to be cool with West Islip coming down and Islip coming up, and it would have added so many more, because now you have West Islip, Harborfield's two-time defending champ. I mean, I know you did a great interview with Coach Levy, who's done an unbelievable job coaching at Harborfield's. Comsawag, who we went to their practice the day before they canceled. They sent everybody home, and I thought they looked really good. So those four teams, and obviously there's other teams in B that can play, but those four teams seem to be the cream of the crop.
yeah, Comswag boys is a good example of a team that it's unfortunate this season got canceled, but they're still going to be really good next year because their 21 class is so good. You mentioned the Wantagh girls, same thing. I think teams like that, at least you have next year to look forward to because you're getting back most of your best players. They did lose a couple really good seniors, but there's only a couple of them. So let's keep moving on. Let's look forward to next year a little bit because now we're in like the last 10 minutes and we're on the home stretch here. I think it's unfortunate, that we're gonna. It's unfortunate that we've missed out on so much lacrosse this year, and I hate to look too far ahead and spend too much time looking into 2021, but I do feel as though it's necessary because there's still a lot of really good stuff that's going to be happening in the world of Long Island lacrosse over the next year, and in the fall, and we're talking fall, next spring, going into the summer, which is really cool. What are some things that excite you about 2021 as we kind of look ahead here a little bit?
Well, the first thing I want to talk about in 2021 is I want to talk about the growth of some up and coming programs before we get into the teams that everybody's known. Obviously we know about in the parochial side and the private school side, we know about Chaminade, St. Anthony's. On the girls' side, St. Anthony's, Sacred Heart. But on the boys' side, St. Dom's is building a really nice program. I think Coach Rooney's doing a good job. Obviously, it helps that he can, run things where they can kind of like see kids when they're in 7th and 8th grade and have open houses, and kids can decide if they want to go that route. But he's getting some really good young talent there, and he's got some good kids, and he's got some good seniors graduating this year. They were going to be pretty good this year. The Angel kid, the Green kid, the Sand kid, the Linden kid, Caputo, who's going to play with his cousin up at Pace. And then Lehigh has come out of nowhere, where Coach O'Reilly has brought in some really good kids, and he's building a good private school program. And then we have another interview, which people should know about what Stony Brook's doing with their PG program for the kids that want a PG and stay on the island. The Stony Brook School, which is, I've been told, I haven't been there yet, we're going to make a trip once they let me out of quarantine to go visit the Stony Brook School. But Coach Vanessa Windsor on the girls' side, and they have an unbelievable boys program, and their AD is a Stony Brook grad who played lacrosse and played it collegiately. So they're building a really good program. So those are 3 up-and-comers that I think people have to look at. If you want to look at some of the teams that have the best 21 classes, we got to talk about Cary High School, boys. We got to talk about Wantaw High School, girls. And then a program that hasn't made any noise in the girls, but you interviewed Adam, the coach, Sayville Girls. They have 2 unbelievable 21s, and they have some really good 22s and 23s. So Sayville is going to start making some noise on the girls' side. And then I wrote down that Chaminade's going to be back on top next year. That's the director of Hustle's quote. That don't forget that next year it's Chaminade's turn, even though St. Anthony's didn't get their turn this year. And the Massapequa Girls, who has a new coach, Coach Kohler, Erin Kohler, she's got a really good freshman class. And Kimmy Greenblatt is a really good sophomore, who I've heard really good things about. We were looking forward to seeing them play this year. So those are the teams that I see making noise in 21, that maybe you wouldn't have been thinking about this year, but next year, even though Wantaw was hoping to make some noise on the girls' side this year.
Yeah, a couple teams that stand out to me. Portledge boys, Coach Wall, he's got a really good freshman and sophomore class. They're expected to be good in the future. Locust Valley girls, they got a lot of young talent coming up. West Hampton boys, I think they're going to make some
Yes.
noise. This was a year, disappointing year, I think, losing this year, but I think even next year they're going to be pretty good. I was really looking forward to covering them and watching them. Northport boys, that's another team. I thought they were going to do some big things this year. Smithtown East, up and coming. I think they're going to kind of rise back to the top. They've been really kind of flying under the radar the last couple of years, but I think they're going to continue to trend upwards with all the talent that comes through that program. There's up and coming teams that are going to surprise us that we're not even talking about today. There's teams that people are telling us, and there's players that people communicate to us each and every day, literally, that we learn about, which I think is exciting. It's great. We're going to do our best to promote them. It's just unfortunate we didn't get a chance to cover them. But again, that's what 2020 is for. That's what excites us, and that's why we do want to look ahead, because we want to build up that excitement again and let people understand that there's a lot of programs that are going to make some noise that people maybe don't necessarily know about just yet. Any
Yeah,
before we head into our closing remarks, are there any other teams or players that you want to touch on as we kind of look ahead into 2021?
I basically wrote down a lot of things, and I think we've gotten to most of the things. The one thing I do want to mention is, you mentioned West Hampton, and West Hampton boys and girls were going to be very good this year. That's a community that has great community spirit, and I think I wanted to just mention that community spirit is so important. We talk about it all the time. Getting your younger teams involved, getting your PAL or youth teams to come to your games. I noticed with the Cold Spring Harbor girls, they do a really good job with that. Shore Wading River girls does a really good job with that. I think it's important to bring your community together, and I think West Hampton does a really good job. I don't want to forget about my girl Mo Duffy, who is definitely one of the higher level players, and she's got a little brother who's going to be coming up, who I saw play this summer, a young man named Owen Duffy. And you want to talk about a high IQ attackman. He's going to be making noise in the future. He's only a freshman, but he's got time. But I'm looking forward to seeing all these kids improve. And if I can give any advice, use the negative and make it a positive. We've done that with our program. We've done that with our coverage. We've tried to interview as many high school, college coaches and players. I know Corey's been very busy as he's been zooming the world. I think that's so important that you make this big negative a huge positive and take it and be very optimistic that we'll be back and stronger than ever and continue to promote the great teams, players, and coaches on Long Island.
I also think if any of our audience and our followers have ideas on things that they would like to see, let us know. We're very open and receptive to feedback and getting ideas on what we can cover, stories we can talk about. We're always willing to do that, which is really cool. And as you mentioned, community and school spirit, I feel like we got to give a shout out to Freeport and Valley Stream. They were the most
Yes.
active on social media as we were, which we'll get into our last topic, as we were looking and we were on our quest to find the epic games of the week. Those were two communities that came out of nowhere. So let's talk about those epic games of the week and how we've went from selecting 10 games to basically turning them virtual. And the way we're doing that is we're picking the best gamer on each of the respective teams that we're going to play one another, and they're going to compete live on Twitch in Madden to see who the best, I guess, team is, through video games. And it's been something that we just launched. It's pretty cool. We had Marco Falcone representing Manhasset, playing against Mount Sinai, which was our first epic game of the week, in Brendan Venerola. And 28-14, Marco Falcone led Manhasset and the Indians to the first epic game of the week, virtual edition Madden Championship, which is really cool. Epic, our innovation partner, was nice enough to send custom, Z1 sticks with a shaft that's completely tailored to that particular program with their logo and colors. It's really cool. So they sent that to us. And then you want to talk about our next matchup, who that's going to be and when that's going down, Coach Wink?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that was a fun night. I got to watch it. And I got to tell you something. The Madden game looks like you're watching football, and they have real announcers, and you get to hear the kids talk and stuff. But we basically took our other game of the week, Manhasset Cold Spring Harbor, which is a rivalry, and you're going to see Marco Falcone back, and he's going up against Caden Hawkinson of CSH. We just had our pregame trash talking meeting this morning at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. this Friday. If you go on the Instagram, you can get the Twitch handle, and you get to watch these guys go at it. Falcone's staying with the Chiefs. That's the team he's playing with. And Caden Hawkinson picked the Buffalo Bills, which I thought was an unusual selection of teams. Ventarola had who was Ventarola? He was the Saints.
Yeah,
That was a great game,
he went
by
with
the way.
Saints.
That was a great game. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was really
anyway,
cool.
this was a good tribute to just Long Island lacrosse. And I know there's not a ton to talk about as it relates to the 2020 season. just because the season got canceled and there aren't any games to cover. But there are a lot of players and programs that we can highlight and elaborate on and learn about. So that's something that, as you mentioned, we're going to do and spend most of our time, because that's really all we can do right now is just just promote all the great people, all the great programs, all the great teams, all the great coaches that are involved in Long Island lacrosse community. And then when we get a chance to get out there and have these live experiences and live game coverage and do all the cool things that we're planning on doing in 2020, we're gonna most definitely be out there doing that. So we hope you guys continue to tune in every Tuesday on BYG. Here we'll be back next week with another special guest, as we typically bring in each and every week. And hope everyone stays safe and stays home as we kind of move through this thing.
Take care, guys.